The book of the prophet Habakkuk. He lived during the final decades of Israel's southern kingdom, and it was a time of injustice and idolatry. He saw the rising threat of Babylon on the horizon, and that was not good news for anybody. But unlike the other prophets, Habakkuk does not accuse Israel. He doesn't even speak on God's behalf to the people. Rather, all of his words are addressed personally to God. And the book tells about Habakkuk's personal struggle, his journey of trying to believe that God is good when there is so much evil and tragedy in the world. And so Habakkuk's words are actually poems of lament, and they're very similar to the laments that you find in the book of Psalms. The poet lodges a complaint and then draws God's attention to suffering or injustice in the world, demanding that God do something. And knowing about this lament form, it's actually the key to understanding the design and message of this short book. Chapters 1 and 2 are framed as a back-and-forth argument between Habakkuk and God. And the prophet lodges two complaints to which God offers two responses. His first complaint is that life in Israel has become horrible. The Torah is neglected, resulting in violence and injustice, and it's all being tolerated by Israel's corrupt leaders. And Habakkuk, he's crying out, asking God to do something, but nothing seems to change. But then all of a sudden, God responds. He says that he's very aware of the corruption of his own people, Israel, and that he's summoning the armies of Babylon to bring down his justice on Israel. And very similar to the message of Micah or Isaiah, God says he will use this terrifying empire to devour Israel because of their injustice and evil. But Habakkuk has a problem with this answer, and so he offers his second complaint. He says Babylon is even worse than Israel. They're more corrupt, they're more violent, they've deified their own military power, they treat humans like animals, gathering them up like fish in a net, he says. They devour nations and people groups in order to build their own empire. And so Habakkuk says, how can you, a holy, good God, use such corrupt nations as your instruments in history? He demands an explanation. In fact, he depicts himself as a watchman on the city walls, waiting for God's response.
The meaning of Habakkuk name is originated by Hebrew, chadakwart, meaning embrace. So the lesson of Habakkuk, which is the 8th minor book in the Old Testament, the book of Habakkuk actually offers a picture of pride, of prideful people, being humble while the righteous live by faith in God. In chapter 2, verse 4, it reminds us that while God seems silent, as the rest of the world think these days, and for this reason live the faith, since God allowing such evil and injustice in the world and does not do nothing about it. He really has a plan to deal with evil, working out justice eventually for the oppressed, for the poor, and for those who fully trust in him and his name. You know, my brothers and sisters, in this world, having experienced much of immorality, before, let me just say, before God said those things, he knew what actually he was doing when he allowed these things into this world. And knowing that one day there will be a restoration of the first heaven and the first earth, which we will obviously know that it will pass away, this world that we are living, although many do not care less these days and have forsaken the faith. And yes, we are free to do with our life whatever we want, but what is most important is where those decisions will lead us to. Let us remember too that we are not alone in this battle, my brothers and sisters. Okay, God bless.